Hey Google, turn on all the lights.
Got it. Turning on 3 lights.
What's up, y'all? Matty here. Welcome to the Braid Diaries. Before we even get into the episode, I really wanted to come on here and preface. Thank you. It's the season finale, episode 15. Also, before we even get into it, I'm really immensely thankful to all of the men who have taken the time with me to just sit down and let me tell their stories and have this conversation about what Blackness and masculinity is, to us as people. I need to preface that as much as this is a brave space, this is also a space where we get questions answered. And as I edited this episode, I realized that I did something that I'm not a fan of. I didn't really answer a question. One of the most important questions of this podcast, which is, what is masculinity to me? You're gonna watch an episode next with me and ANTWIGADEE, and you're gonna really enjoy it, I'm sure. But also, when it gets down to me answering that question, I don't think I do it in the best way. And I wanted to come on here to just take some time to give you my honest answer about what I think that is. One, I'm gonna say Braid Diaries is a science experiment. We're trying to answer a question. I don't think we solved the answer to the question first season. I think we're really trying to redefine what masculinity is. I think we know that masculinity is having qualities that are manly or masculine. I think we're really trying to define what masculine is because they're qualities that people who identify as female, have, and they can be masculine qualities, and I think it flips for men as well sometimes too. So I think I say all that to say that I really do believe that masculinity is the ability to hold space for your divine masculine self, which would be your divine firmer self or your more authoritative self. You know what I mean? I don't really want to say manly, but I also think like it's also in tune with you being tapped into that stronger side of yourself. It's also holding space for that side of yourself that's also a bit more feminine. I feel like to be truly masculine, it's also to be really cognizant of the fact that both energies have the possibility and capabilities to live inside of you as a person. So, with that being said, I do believe that masculinity is something that can be very domineering, can be very bold, can be very assertive. But I also think that there are lots of women in the world that have those qualities too, and they could be deemed as masculine. You know what I mean? So I think as you sit here and see me pondering for about 2 minutes, this is why I made this podcast. And with that also being said, I say one of the announcements in this episode as well. But I'm a homeowner now. I took it upon myself to buy a piece of property this past year, and it's been so rewarding, and it's been a journey. And that is why I named this episode Third Ward Matty. So I'm officially an Uptownian, even though I've been an Uptownian all my life in many different ways, shapes, and formats, but I can finally say that it feels good to have my roots settled in one of the places I've always known as home. And with that, thank you for this open letter. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch the Braid Diaries and listen to it. And also, I can't wait for you to come back for season 2. We have so much more in store. With that being said, episode 15, The Word Matty. There you go.
All right, what's up, y'all? My name is Matty Matt, also Matthew Drotter, or Matty, if you just know me very well. People call me all sorts of things sometimes, but welcome to the Braid Diaries, my podcast where I talk to black men about what it means to be black men in America through the vein of our hair. So today is a very exciting episode. Hot towel, Well, it's not hot. It's cold because it's hot outside. But today's our season finale, and I'm with ANTWIGADEE. So for those of y'all who have been tapped into the series for the past 15 episodes, ANTWIGADEE is our former guest. He has his own episode, so check out ANTWIGADEE's former episode. And yeah, I think I want to preface like one thing before we get into this. I was real stressed about like not having my hair braided for this episode. I was like, oh my God, I don't have my braids in any way, shape, or form. And I've talked to like men, I've talked to like all kinds of men. I've talked to like bald men, I've talked to men with like locks, I've talked to men with like fades. Right now your head is like legit like shaved down, like to like, not like shaved down, but like it's a buzz, you know?
Yeah, I need to do another cut, actually.
And I was like thinking about this last night, and I was like, no, I'm like, the whole purpose of this is just like to talk to people like throughout whatever like phase they're at with their hair. So I'm actually happy to just kind of like be chilling.
I was about to say, I think it's cool that you have a different hairstyle for right now because it's fitting.
I think it is fitting. I'm about to actually go and get braids done because I'm about to be in production. And when I'm in production, I just don't have my hair. I just don't like my hair being out because I just don't have time to do it. You know, so. But yeah, what you been doing?
Organizing.
Yeah.
That's been my thing lately. Organizing music. I'm trying to come to understand music more in a deeper sense. So organizing that music helps me a lot. Because I feel like I've been going through this thing recently. You remember Space Jam?
Yeah.
And when when the aliens come and they come with the basketball and all the basketball players touch the ball and like all their powers are like zapped and they're like, what's going on? Like, I don't understand. Like, that's how I felt for the past couple of months when I've been DJing, and it's like, what's going on? Something don't feel right. But as I've been organizing my library, I'm like, man, like this feels amazing because I know
Like
where everything is at. Yeah. But then just have a better understanding. Like I have this folder called Samples, and literally every song that I could think of as of right now has the origin song and then
Like
the song that sampled it. That way I could just jump around.
Just jump around it? That's fire.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's really what I've been up to as of late. I've been looking for a new spot for energy for about a year now.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'm ready to get my monthly back.
For those of y'all who don't know, ANTWIGADEE is an experienced enthusiast in all aspects, but beyond like DJing, he also he has a residency and like he crafts it, curates it. It's cool. I mean, I've been like inside most of the summer. If you see me outside, it's probably because you've thrown something that I've gone to. So, yeah. If you ever get the chance to check out ANTWIGADEE's experiences, please do. They're really amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we're gonna get into the episode. I think a few things before we get into it. After some announcements. This is our finale, which means we're actually going to go on an actual break. Not like Matthew running away from content. That's not what's happening.
Okay.
I learned a lot about consistency throughout like the past like 15 episodes of like doing this. I've learned that you cannot do things by yourself. Like, I'm very grateful to like my 3 homies behind us right now because like they helped put all this stuff together for this episode. Like, it legit takes about like 3 to 5 people to do a podcast, you know what I mean? You can't do everything by yourself. So I'm very, very, very grateful to finally be done with this season. I feel like I have like a world record for like world's longest podcast season now. But I'm also just excited to actually just sit down and plan and like you said, organizing. Like I really just been organizing too and thinking about what's to come. So I'm very excited to take the break, but my announcement is that during the break we'll also have off-season content. So I won't have audio episodes, but I will be doing YouTube vlogs, and you'll get to see like a behind-the-scenes look of like all the things I'm working on behind the Braid Diaries and my life. So that's coming to y'all in the fall. Yeah, that's my announcement. That's it. We can get into the episode now. which is gonna flip because usually I'm the host, and today you're gonna be the host talking to me about me and my life. Take a look at my life and see what I see. You know.
Yeah.
But where do you want to start? I wanted to read a poem today, so like I can either close with the poem.
I think you should open with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna read you guys this poem. I love this poem. Like, and actually, like, it's a part of something I'm about to like shoot and like film with a bunch of people. So, it's called Blue After Resentment.
Okay.
My love has been this sea where kiss is to Iscariot and betrayal sinks deeper. Where I've never known life without my heart to pick on my sleeve for the world to pick and dig into. Curiosity is my existence. You see experience, I see gratefulness piercing into me like a Bond girl whose gods are dominant and dead, embodying mother and her mother and her mother. Giving homes pulled through every storm, monuments still standing after being gutted out for generations. And your love is the sky bound by the look in your eyes, showing you the sunlight is gone. His hands were the wounds of my family too well to share my tears, thugs marching towards freedom or something that looks like it. Here, concession is cooked best. Pas que fait et tout ce que nous savons. In this land with no Bonnie, absent of Clyde, where blue houses stand erect and the shingles only half of me. Fortified, I am remembrance. A hood once seen, never imagined, like birds migrating, harmonizing, as Luther and Anita and Nippy and Lady Day singing the blues. Yeah, I love that little poem.
Do you want to explain?
I think it's a love poem, obviously. It's called Blue After Resentment, hashtag Beyonce. But beyond it being a love poem, it's really about, I think I've taken this past year to really think about like family. I think
Okay.
I think for me, my word this year was art. I feel like it took me some time to get there. But I think for me, I really learned that like as a person, I make my best art when I'm surrounded by my family.
Okay.
And I think it's really been a testament to really unpacking generationally like how we all felt trauma in a specific way. So I think like lots of people in my family have given themselves in like loving situations too deeply sometimes to people who don't deserve them. Essentially, I really think like it's my assessment of like how I've learned to like move through resentment as I've experienced in my family, but also my relationships. And I think like as much as it is a love poem, it's also like a poem to like someone that you know, to where it's just like y'all see love differently, you know what I mean? And it's like I think the essence of that can be very blue in itself. So that's what it's really about. I think it's about like the dissecting like all those generational things
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, I feel that. Okay. Well, since
But
we're talking
that's a
about
perfect
things
segue.
that you love, things that you care about, obviously you care about this poem.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this. The reason why we're here,
Yeah.
the Braid Diaries.
Yeah.
And we're gonna start all the way back from the beginning. You know, who Matt was as a child, and how did you wear your hair during that time, and what was that environment like for you?
Like really structured. I have like this picture that I think of like a long time ago, but like I used to, I mean, kind of like how your hair is now, it'd be like real close, like close.
The number one.
Like, yeah, get that boy that number one, okay? And line him up. But it's like, what are you lining up? Because there's no hair to line up. So it's like, that's how it was for a long time. My mom was just like, I mean, you know my mom. So she's very clear cut when it comes down to like how she wants things to be.
Mm-hmm.
So she didn't want us to have like braids or like afros or like anything of that nature. Like I think she just always had like this idea of like what clean cut was. So I think that she like, so I think that she indexed on that for a very long time. It wasn't until like high school, like around high school was like when I really started to like grow up my hair and like experiment with it.
Okay.
Cause she would just every 2 weeks we'd be in a barber, you know, like
Hey,
getting a cut.
I'm not mad at it because I'm a haircut guy. Like, I like my hair to be cut, you know. So I feel it in that regard, but in the sense of what is standard clean cut is where I'm like,
Well, I think like I use that term to like think about like how she thought about it back in the day. I don't think there is like a standard clean cut, you know what I mean?
anymore? No?
I mean, I feel like they have people with like linings and fades, you know what I mean? But it's like, I haven't had a lining or a fade in like 2-3 years.
I mean, but you have
don't-
long hair.
Yeah, but am I not clean cut?
Yes, I'm thinking more in the sense
You know what I mean?
of business, like the business world,
Ah.
the standards that,
I mean, yeah, I think corporate very much would want you like, you know, like to either have, you know, your shit pulled back or like tied up or something, you know what I mean? Or like, maybe not so fond of like dreads or like braids or like twists. I don't know. I've had experiences with that. Like I've seen, and I say like my experiences have really been like me like witnessing like what happens to like people close to me. Like I feel like I've worked in a very creative corporate space. I say corporate in like air quotes because it's mostly creative. Like for the past like 7 years almost. So like, I don't know. I feel like in agency world, it's like I feel like I deal with lots of microaggressions when it comes down to like dumb white people who don't know how to talk to black people. But then it's like on the flip side, it's like, well, you have lots of black people who are very expressive. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's nice to be in that space and express myself in that way too. But I didn't get the chance to really experiment until I got older.
okay. And what was the first time you felt like, you said high school was the first time you started venturing out into your own hairstyles or your own expression of what you wanted to see? Why high school and what inspired you to do that? Like, was it something that you were watching? Was it music videos? Did somebody in your family kind of inspire you? Like, what was that turning point?
It was kind of like a few things. I mean, I'm gonna be real honest with you. Like, part of it was like the racial ambiguity that I was getting from my hair. Like, people would be like, "What are you?" And I'd be like, "I don't know." Like,
Not what are you?
and they'd be like dead ass serious. But I mean, I think that's the thing, like with people out here, you know. I think it's like when you see people, and it's like they have like different textures of hair. I think like there's this weird thing, especially like in the South, like but in this city, where it's like you start to gravitate towards people based on how they look, and I think like I started to get more questions about it. So I think I would like actually index on the ambiguity of it until I really like talked to my mom and I was like, who are we? like where did we come from? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think it's mostly like that, and then I really just always like, this is weird, but like I always had this thing where like I really liked Fabio. Like the buff dude that was like on like the romance novels. But I was like, damn, like I wish I could have hair like Fabio, but like my hair did not do that. So I was like, will this ever be me? Like, will I ever have a blowout that flows in the wind and a giant chest?
Well, you got one of those. I'm about to say you got one of those.
But I think like the hair part was like, you know, so. But it's weird because even as I talked to you about like Fabio, I was like, this is not a black man. You know what I mean? Like this is not like standard like role model like for a black boy. So it's like, I think it was just very different. But I want to say like towards like my junior year was like when I really started to like get like tapers and like grow out my fro and like I used to like to try different things. And then sometimes, like, I feel like young jock. Which would be really weird, like, depending on, like, how I had my fade done. But I think it was just a combination of, like, some things I'd see, like, in the media, but also it was really just, like lots of me, like, within myself.
Yeah.
Like, just kind of, like, being really inquisitive about, like, how my hair could actually be,
Cool.
you know?
So, on that note, like, when did you start to bring these ties together between being a black man and your relationship with your hair? Like, how did that formulate in your mind, or what are the things that you thought about growing up?
You know, it's interesting because it's like I grew up in a barbershop, like, and I think this is such a strange phase of life for me because I have not been in a barbershop for such a long time.
How long you think?
Like, consistently, 3 years. So, I feel like I first learned about it through, like, my barber.
Okay.
Well, not like that many, because I really had, like, one barber until I was, like...
I'm about to say, you be cheating like that? You're not supposed to cheat on your barber.
Not supposed to cheat on anybody, Antoine, but but people still doing it every single day. No, but I think it was like I'm gonna just give you like my trajectory. I had Mr. Jupiter until I was about like a teenager. Then Mr. Jupiter got really old and he couldn't like see very well. And it was to the point where it was like my linings were getting crooked. Like I got my hair cut one day and I was like, mother, never again, bruh. And she was like, it's not that bad. I'm like, not that fucking bad. Like, I'm at school getting laughed at, my G. Like, the fuck? So, after he had, like, made my lining look like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, because that's what it looked like on my head, I went to go see Mr. Chills.
That's
and that was on Carrollton.
Yeah.
And I went to Chills, so, like, from that moment until, like, I had moved, like, to Chicago, for real.
Okay.
So he was like my barber like from high school until I was an adult. And I think it was like through that relationship with Chills, may he rest in peace because he passed away, because he was not just like my barber. Like he really like took to me and my brother as if like we were like family. Okay. So it was like he would show up at like my birthday parties. He would like he would like call me, like we would like text. Like it was like we had like a legitimate like actual factual relationship beyond him just being my barber. And I think like through that was when I really started to like understand things about like manhood, but also like how they were like connected to grooming and beyond that. Through that relationship.
That environment in Mr. Chills or Mr. Chills himself, like what do you feel like he was pivotal in
Extremely.
helping you
I mean,
with the relationship between your hair and being black and understanding it?
Oh, that's a different question. I mean, I would say yes, because I think two things. I think like in that shop, he had a shop that very much like cultivated like the essence of like what it is to be in the city, but also like in a very different way. Like he would encourage you to read or like look at different things. Like so, I think like for me it was like for me like every time I would go in the shop, I had a book, and I'd just be reading. You know what I mean? And then like just like doing like different sorts of stuff like that, and just having like really like deep, meaningful conversations. I think like through that, yeah, he was able to really help me really understand what it was like to be a black man, like how to think about like money and like, how to think about like relationships. Like granted, like everything he was giving me was like from a heteronormative perspective, but it was still like food, like it was still knowledge, like it was still like basic tenets on like how to actually do your shit and survive and like be an entrepreneur and like think like strategically and like how to handle your business. And it was at a point in time where I didn't have that from a man, you know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, I do think it really helped.
And do you feel like that's the first time you started thinking about like hair, being black as a black man, and then how do you feel like it developed?
I think
over
I've
time?
always asked the question, to be honest. I think like from the moment of like when kids were like asking me like what I was like legit thinking about this question like ever since I was a kid. Like, why does it fucking matter? Number one. But also too, like in the vein of why does it matter, it's just like, why are the differences not celebrated? You know what I mean? Like, I think there's so
I was about to say, I think that goes back to what your mom was saying when you were younger about, oh, this is clean cut, this is acceptable. You
Why
know,
are the
this is
differences not celebrated? You know what I mean? Like, I think that there's so much beauty in like the fact that like there is so much variety of black hair. I think there is so much beauty in the fact that like there is more than one like skin tone of like black. So it's like, I don't know. I think instead of indexing on like the why don't I have it, why can't you just index on the well I have something different to add to this community of people. You know what I mean? So I think that's like really where that sits for me. Like as I think about it now, you know, but it took some time to get there for sure. Like I just wake up when I was like 12 and I was like, you know, like ta-da.
Yeah. So what was a pivotal moment for you that helped you walk into your manhood, being black, and being okay with your hair and your texture?
I think hitting rock bottom. I think to be honest, like when I was living, this is like when I was in San Francisco, but like I was in a relationship and like, and it had me spent, like emotionally spent, financially spent, like spent, like, and I realized at the end of that relationship, I did not know who I was. Like I'd be sitting in rooms like, what do I like anymore? Like, what do you like? Like you're a human. So I really wanted to find time to sit with myself because I realized I was trying to be a home to so many other people and not myself. And I was like, why is nothing working? Well, it's not working, you just sit with yourself. So I really took the time to do that, and I forced myself to really find a way to have a relationship with myself, and I picked my hair as the first point to do that.
So how did it change in that moment?
Learned a lot.
No, your hair.
Oh, how did my hair change?
Did
I
you change
mean-
it based on that?
I mean, at first it was like I was still getting fades. Like I was still going to see Machias to get my fades like every so often, and then it kind of went to, I'm not gonna get fades, I'm gonna just get it tapered. And then it went to, I'm not gonna taper it, I'm gonna just let him line me up. And then it went from, I'm not gonna do nothing, I'm gonna just let it grow.
Okay.
And I wanted it to just grow. Like I kind of felt like with like the trimming that I had been doing, like I feel like I was molding myself into this image of a person that I no longer was like susceptible to. And like people always tell me like when they look at pictures of me like from a long time ago, like, oh my God, like you were so fine, like I love that version of you. And it's just like that version of me was legit conforming to all of the things people wanted me to do. Like, and that's what that haircut showed me. Like the haircut showed me that like I was married to a schedule that didn't even pertain to my life. You know what I mean? Like moving to cities, like trying to go find barbers because I feel like I need to have a barber. Like, and it's like that's cool. You know what I mean? If you need to do that, but I didn't.
Right.
I didn't. So, I think like it really, it was an awkward growing phase at first because that shit was ugly as hell. Like when it was really starting to grow, and I was like, damn, like this is just cute like little coils. It took forever. And the growing. Like I remember, like I laugh at Drake sometimes now, cause like when he had them little braids that like stopped, like that like not too long ago. I remember like when the first time I got my hair braided, Machias was like, how am I gonna braid this down? He was like, you ain't even got hair for you to braid down. He made it work. But it's like I look back now, and it's like that was like 3-4 years ago.
Okay.
And now it's like I legit have like hair, you know. So. And I was also like still like scared, still timid that time, like still figuring it out. And now I'm very much like bold and like I think like a lot more healthy and like a lot more expressive. So I feel like it shows
Yeah, I love that you said
in that way too.
getting the haircut and the taper, it felt like you conforming. And I feel like I'm bringing this back to when we first talked about you being younger, because you said, okay, your mom was like, this is the standard of what clean cut looks like. And you talk about, yeah, okay, I was still getting my hair cut in this certain way, but that was me not really being fully who I wanted to be.
No, I was still very much like in the closet lying to everyone. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I could go and get a fade tomorrow and I still be the same me now, you know what I mean?
Right.
But like, but it legit took the growth to figure it out, you know what I mean? And I appreciate it, you know? Like, a very expensive, very long, like, process, but I appreciate it because, like, I mean, I think it's, like, through, like, the sitting with yourself that you learn the most when you're really listening. Like,
Yeah, and I was about to say too, the idea of that, I know you don't like this word, but that journey.
the journey.
Of not having your hair cut, it makes you self-reflect. Like you said, I'm like, man, like my hair is getting long. Like I don't really like the way I look, but in not liking the way you look, you find what you do like. And not liking what you do, it doesn't matter, you know. So that hardship always grows into the place where you feel like, oh yeah, I actually do like this. This is where I need to be because I know what I don't like. I know what I don't want to look like. So yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think right now we're gonna do some of these questions in this box.
We're not really strangers.
We're really not, but
We're not.
we're gonna go to level 2 first.
Not level 2.
Yep. Great first question. How are you really?
Sorry. That was not. Woo! I got, Adam asked me that yesterday, and that was actually my exact same response. So we'll try that again.
Oh, man.
I'm good. I think that is honest. I'm not lying to y'all. Like, I'm actually good. I think I'm learning, like, 2 things. Balance and how to be a homeowner.
Yeah.
I guess I'm learning 3 things. Also, like, how to be a business owner, because I did 2 things this year. I bought a house and started a business at the same time. And you don't, like, thank you, yay!
For real.
Never do that. I'm so serious. No. Unless you're like a trust fund baby. Like, Jesus Christ. I woke up this morning with like a house thing. Kiwan was like, you got it. I was like, but being a homeowner is like, it's always something. It's like every day, it's like it's a new challenge. It's like, wow, it's like I had the most expensive child in the world. So, yeah, but beyond that, like, I think I'm good. Like, I'm really like appreciative. Like, I wake up each and every day and I'm like really grateful. Like, I have a roof over my head. I have food to eat. Like, I have people who I can call and I love. So, I'm good and I'm also grateful, but I'm just rolling with the punches right now.
Okay.
How are you really?
How am I really? I'm doing really good. Yeah, I
am pregnant.
You told me you pregnant?
Mm-hmm.
With what? Well, I know we're like, I know you have the house, but that's already in fruition.
Well, I mean, that's born technically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you said it.
I did.
You said that you're pregnant.
I'm sorry.
I mean, if you don't know the
I do.
You know that, okay. Because sometimes we don't know we haven't yet. We know that we're pregnant.
It's just a bunch of creative projects. And like,
Okay.
I've been saying this, like hinting at people are like, you pregnant? Is a man doing things to you? No, y'all. Like, I'm just pregnant with creativity. But this is a lot of projects right now.
I feel that.
Yeah.
But no, I'm good. Why are we getting the red cards? I want questions. Before you
get to the next card, can we pause?
Cool.
And we're all fine as fuck.
Yes. Okay. Answer this by filling in the blanks in this sentence. Strangers would describe me as, only I know that I am. What?
Stranger would describe me as only what? Can I see
You
this?
fill in the blanks. So strangers would describe me as blank. Only I know that I am blank.
Oh! Stranger would describe me as serious. Only I know that I am a nutcase. I'm not really a nutcase, but I am like, my brain moves at like a million miles per minute.
Where? Fine. Okay, so let's
already do that.
Let's jump into some of these other questions about the Braid Diaries and what kind of started it, and how do you feel like? Let's start there. What kind of started it for you? Why did you feel like this was necessary?
As I really started to like unpack my whole entire relationship with my hair, I think I really started to realize there's always been like this push about black women and black women's hair. And like, which, I mean, I'm not gonna knock the movement, like it's needed, like it is. But at the same time, I was like, damn, it's not like we don't go through some of this stuff too, you know what I mean? And also like, no one ever really asks us questions like as men. I think oftentimes it's like, I think we're often like expected to know answers to stuff, but it's like, we just expected to know and not talk to nobody and consult about it and just, okay, cool. So I really wanted to make like space, because it's like, I also started to like really be around lots of smart, influential, like thoughtful like black men, and I was just like, damn, like no one even asks them either. Like, and I think we all have those qualities, you know what I mean, like within us, like naturally. But
so in that vein about nobody asking those questions, let me ask you this question. What defined masculinity for you, and was it you just discovering it, or did somebody define it for you, like somebody that you looked up to or somebody that you saw in the media?
I think it's like a continuously evolving thing. I think, not to be like, masculinity is fluid, because I'm not saying that at all, but I do think that like, when it comes down to the idea of it, I think like it was presented to me a certain way, especially like having these conversations. Like I feel like every time I talk to a man about like their view about what that thing, like what masculinity is, it doesn't tweak my perspective of like what it is, but it does like enhance it and make me look at it through a different lens sometimes. I think it's like as a man, I'm sorry, that's petty. As a man, I feel like it's your innate nature to really just be able to do what you need to do. I always say like do what you need to do to you, but it's really about accountability. And it's like, I think it's about accountability like with self, and I also think it's about like accountability to like the people who you claim to be accountable to. I feel like if you can like do what you're gonna do and follow through with those things, I think that's just like, I wanna be like as masculine as you can be.
Really? You don't think that's a feminine quality as well?
Because it is, you know what I mean? I think it's like innately human, you know what I mean? I think it's like innately, like you just being able to actually be a downright good, decent human. So I think for me, like I don't be like I have a hard time answering this question now, because it's like, especially like as I like grow more into myself, there are people who categorize me as femme, there are people who categorize me as in between, there are people who still categorize me as like mask. I don't fucking know. So it's like, for me, it's just like, I really do think it is like you loving yourself. I think it is you honoring like what is true to you and not changing that for anybody else. And I also really just think too, it's also you like holding space for you to still walk and be who you are, but not be questioned by somebody else walking in their same light as well. So I really just think it's about like learning about like how to just like be in your own lane as a person.
Okay, so that goes to my next question. Do you feel like there is a definition that you can give for masculinity that would embody it solely just for that word? Or do you feel like anything that you would give can also be played into like femininity or
I do. Else? I mean, I feel like as humans, I think we all, and you can disagree with me or not, but I think we all have like innate like feminine and masculine qualities. Like I feel like there's like a divine feminine and masculine within each person. Now, whether you subscribe to it and tap into it or not, that is on you. You know what I mean? But truth be told, is like I do feel like, for me, like masculinity is the ability to acknowledge both and like to let them exist within themselves and not let them be threatened by one another. You know what I mean? Because I mean, it's kind of like yin and yang, or like black and white, or like right and wrong. Like you can't have one without the other. So you need them both to work together.
And
I do think like the masculine side of it like can be more forceful, but also too it's just like I know some forceful ass women. You know what I mean? I know some women who will run circles around some men, and tie a boat on top of them, and then mail them to like sayonara, and then if the box gets mailed back, they'll burn the box. Like
Rihanna.
they're like, yeah, you know what I mean? So it's like I'm terrified of you.
Right.
You know?
So do you feel like most of the time people categorize masculinity and femininity based on the standards
I think
that society has set?
Society or like your personal like experiences. I also think for me too it's just like I know that like I have the privilege in the fact that like I'm not even 30 and I've lived in different countries. I've lived in several different places. I've worked across the world in many different avenues, in different communities. So it's like the types of people that I have to see and I have to work with and I have to interact with, they're not just straight black people. You know what I mean? I'm not seeing the same kinds of people every single day to like fine tune the world that I live in. It's like I legit have a world where it's like I legit talk to and know almost everybody in some way, shape, or form. So I think like society, like of course, like it always like deeply ingrains images into your brain, but I also think too it's just like based upon your own personal experiences and how you maneuver in life and work with people, that influences that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. As far as like images and going to the image of masculinity and things like that, how do you feel like we make associations between black men and the style they choose, or do you feel like there's a specific association that we make between black men and the styles that they choose?
I think sometimes, I mean, I feel like as people I do this and I really try my best not to, but I think sometimes it's like when you see people, sometimes you start to associate things based on like what you see. You know what I mean? So like case in point, like if I saw you walking down the street in an all black outfit and a hoodie, it's like, naturally it's like, I could have on the exact same thing, but also it's like, it's unfortunately triggering because you've been primed to be triggered by it. You know what I mean? So I think sometimes, yeah, like I hate using Jay-Z as an example because he's not the only example, but I think just in like how he's like structured the relationship with his hair over time. You know what I mean? Like he very much only used to have fades, and now it's just like he's just kind of rocking like whatever he wants. Yeah, whatever he wants to rock, and like that Basquiat look is like doing things for him. You know what I mean? So I think he has his own connotation to like what that look means for him and like how it gets him where he is and how he wakes up in the morning, makes it feel. You know what I mean? I think we all do. As much as it feel like it skews, like as much as I feel like people's freedom skews with how much money they make, like it doesn't, because I mean somebody could legit have no money and do the exact same thing and be just fine. You know what I mean? So I think it's all about like perception versus reality a little bit. I feel like I'm not answering the question to the best of my ability.
It's okay, but when you were talking about, okay, we were talking about masculinity a little bit, right? So if you were to have two of the same people in the same outfit, I feel like it could be easily said that society might place those two people.
They would look at those two people very differently, you know what I mean?
Based on their hair, though.
I mean, I feel like based on their hair, like, yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's like, I mean, even like with the name test, you know what I mean? If you put those two people in a scenario, like, if somebody would, like, dreads in a suit went for interview and somebody with a fade in a suit went for interview, like, I don't know how those things would pan out, but I'm sure we all can assume what would happen.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, to those people. Just based upon like how somebody's name is on a resume, or like how like they look when they show up versus how their resume actually like reads. You know what I mean? I think lots of those things are shocking to people, and I think it does play effects into how as people we treat people. But I also think, in turn too, I feel like it has an effect on us. Like, I think like having to always think about that. I mean, there's a question I always ask people, but it's just like how does the way you wear your hair like make you show up in white spaces? Like, I think I think you have to ask that question to answer the other question sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's like I feel like for me it's like I've gotten to a point where it's like I don't care. And I can say that I really don't care because I know that it's like I know that my work exudes itself. Like I know that like when I show up into a space, when I do what I need to do, when I show up when I work, my work will show up for itself. Like period. Like what I'm doing will speak volumes. I know that the way that I look is going to present an image to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I've also taken the point to allow my work to do bounds for that for me. So I feel like it's like, damn, it's like you can't say shit about my image because my work is good. You know what I mean?
And so I think this would be a great question to kind of wrap up on. What did it take for you to get there? You know, for you to be able to walk into these spaces with any kind of hairstyle, wearing anything, and say, you know, I don't care what you guys think. Like, this is who I am, and my work is going to speak for itself.
I talked about like that rock bottom thing earlier. But I do think I think it is in like the quintessential nature of like having to be knocked down all the way to the bottom to get brought back up. And I think like for me, I think that really is like what it is and like what has gotten me to this point now. You know what I mean? It's like I've never been a person that would just keep going. You know what I mean? I always like have to like go back and look back at everything to figure out where I'm at now. And I really feel like all of the experiences that I've had have like helped get me to this point today. You know what I mean? Like, who knows? Like, if I would have made this podcast, you know what I mean? But I did, and it's because of the experiences that I had, like, with people, like that I met, like through travels across the world, that I've been able to like to figure out like this overarching question about like what this thing means to us. And I think that is like first and foremost like one why I want to keep continuing to do it, you know what I mean? But also too, I think like at the heart of it, like it's really why I'm doing it. Like I think it's really just to give us a space to talk and like ask these questions amongst ourselves because we never had that space to. Yeah.
And it's appreciated.
Thank
and it's
you.
important. And we love you for it.
And also too, like just to think about like all of like the younger black men that like didn't have stuff like this. Like I could make a list of things that I wish I had when I was like an adolescent, you know what I mean? Like boy, like growing up. And it's like people weren't thinking about stuff like that, you know what I mean? Like people weren't thinking about like the health of like gay teenagers or trans teenagers or like bi teenagers. Like people were not thinking about like those things. And I think like of course it's natural like you're not going to, but I think it also is needed. So yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
We appreciate you and your time and being vulnerable and again starting something like this for the younger black generation to have something to look forward to, changing their mind and just opening up to new opportunities of thought, you know, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. Honestly, I really, really do. I want to thank everybody for tuning into season 1 of the Braid Diaries. This has been a labor of love in lots of ways. Lots of blood, lots of sweat, lots of tears. People always say that, but no, factually, has gone into this project. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who's helped with like strategy, to like camera work, to photography work, to reading emails, to anything that you have done to like really make this series like come to life, to social posts. Thank you, Sydney. Like, I want to just thank all the people like in my wheelhouse and in my network because this would not be possible, like of course, like without me, but it really would not be possible without the team and friends and family that I've made over the course of the years. So I truly appreciate y'all. I thank you. I do promise this is my last time doing anything inconsistently. I'm tired. Like, I'm so tired of like not having things planned out the way I actually like them to be.
Yeah.
So we back. It's nice to be back too. And with that, I'll see y'all around.
Later.
Bye.